I'm not sure which one I should start with, because I know that there was you sent your list of the edits you made, right?
Actually, I might suggest that the people who have outstanding changes kind of walk through them.
Okay.
And then we'll be sure to cover what's important to everybody, if that works. I think if we look at the combined document, it's confusing to know
Okay.
what came from where.
So start with,
take attendance.
oh, that's right. You need to take it. Sorry. Approval
I'm
and
so
roll call.
sorry.
Yes, no, thank you. I approve it. We
Okay,
have to do the attendance first.
We
then
do.
approve it.
make sure everybody's here for this all important meeting. Ash Shake.
Here.
Sarah Cornelli.
Here.
Chelsea Campbell.
Here.
Brian O'Connor.
Here.
Lisa Cunningham.
Here.
Bob Broadus.
Here.
Adam Hay.
Here.
Candace Whitehouse.
Here.
And Ben Hemphill.
Here.
All right. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Any issues with the agenda as written? All right. So I think then, per Hillary's suggestion, let's just go with the 3 documents labeled Commissioner Ryan 2 and 3 edits. Which one is yours, Ben?
No.
Okay.
Ben, you want to work from your email? That might work.
Yeah, we can
do my email.
Yeah, we can work through your the Excel sheet you sent. So, yeah, let's start with you.
All right. The 2013, the it says the mayor and all town council members shall be elected to serve 4-year unless a 2-year term is required to restore status on the town council.
Which one are you going to look at? So
I'm looking at the clean copy.
this proposed home rule charter for signature, that should be the one that had
Yeah,
most of the edits included.
correct. And I went through my list because I kind of did this in order, but I just left all the info there.
So Ben, are you going through the ones that were accepted or not accepted? Or added
I'm
or
going
not added?
through, I think all the ones that were accepted were just minor formatting things.
Yeah, so the first one that's a no is it 4022?
The 4013.
Oh, I got you.
uh,
Right, which that is about whether staggered positions could need to be restored outside of a district.
Does that make sense? I guess.
I mean, I got what you were saying, but I wasn't comfortable making that change
Yeah,
without discussing it. And I don't want to presume that there's not ever a situation when there would be a stagger that wouldn't be within the district. I mean,
okay,
it just seems like, let's cover all our bases.
yeah, all right, then that's fair. And then the next one is 422. It was just the wording of town council members. We hadn't used members anywhere else. We just used members out of that town council.
Yeah, and I'm fine leaving that. I just missed it.
That's all.
But let's slow down so I can catch up.
Oh,
So 4022,
422.
majority of the town council members present, so you're suggesting just removing members.
Everywhere else, we just say town council, president. Office.
Okay, I'm good. So apostrophe on 24 hours.
Yeah, word, getting the 2 blue bars with the red squiggle.
It did. I mean, it's technically correct, but you guys didn't want it, so I will defer to you.
So that's 4041. With apostrophe, that one.
Yeah,
It definitely is.
the 24 belongs first.
It's the 24 belong to the notice. You're describing how much notice.
That's weird.
It happened.
But I checked it on Google too.
Yeah.
So,
Did you ask?
I read it on Google. We did, but there was no problems. So we're adding that back in.
Yeah. I think it's okay.
602, kind of a joke, but every single letter is that capitalized. I guess that's.
That, my understanding is that is in lieu of all caps, which is not vision friendly.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, we can make it whatever you want. It was simply a conversion of it being all caps to mixed case, and so that's how they all ended up.
Currently, we actually do lowercase for all of the,
Like,
yeah,
that's what kind of what-
the is. Actually, no. The L, the T and the is not counted in any of the connector words. we
Like
do
you would in a
lowercase.
title, like of a
Mhm.
book or something.
Is not capitalized.
So do you want to just put it back to normal English capitalization?
I think it's nice to have like ordained and town council. and
Those are.
Town of Erie, Colorado.
That's how we do it now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just therefore,
No, therefore is capitalized
Okay.
currently,
but be it
would
by
not be, ordained would be, town council would be, town of Erie, town and Erie would be
in
Colorado.
in Colorado.
Okay, so just the short connected words would be
My goal in life is.
the most critical thing you've ever done. And 6043 was the same thing with the town council members.
Yeah, you got all those edits done already.
Yeah.
So this is already updated because I don't see numbers in the current game.
Can we go back to 604? I thought I had made that.
Yeah, I think you did. I think I
Okay.
missed it.
Okay.
So 7083. The second time it says 180 days. That's
Ben, I'm like impressed. Eagle eye. Man.
Got it?
I wasn't sure, so 7-Eleven has a bunch of third, fifth, and first. And I've
Right.
seen it in some places where they put those parentheses, put it in first.
Yeah, when it's a straight numeral, we do, and that's a style issue, but I mean, firm wide, our style is that if it's a numeral, but if it's one of those ordering numbers that has the, yeah,
Okay,
you don't.
I'm fine including those. Next one is 1015. So this is something that wanted to discuss with everyone. This is relevant to removal of board or commission member. And we have 5 affirmative votes. And the goal of that is to have that supermajority sort of thing. But the way we worded it in the emergency ordinance was 2/3 of members in an office. Lisa asked a good question of why I think it's important if for some reason this charter is amended to have more counselors, that 5 becomes obsolete. It doesn't have intended across. So it's just protecting that, also being consistent with emergency ordinance. And make it lost. Yeah. So.
Any objections?
I agree with that.
Okay, could somebody do me a favor and read the 2/3 language so that I can type it in without trying to search for it?
So removal of any member from a board or commission requires a, what was the word you had also, 2/3?
I guess no fewer than, and then it would be 2/3, parentheses, 2/3.
What did we have? Emergency ordinance?
It's an emergency ordinance.
Yeah, which is.
6.
And then affirmative vote.
Is it a 2/3 affirmative
Yes,
vote?
2/3. And I don't think it's no fewer, because the other one, so the wording we have it in the other one requires a 2/3 parentheses 2/3 affirmative vote of the town council in office.
Okay, so we want it to be just like that.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
2/3 affirmative vote of the town council.
We should.
It says by in the emergency ordinance.
Quick.
Thank you for coming this week.
Okay, so then it picks up with full removal following notice of adoption.
Last one is 16025. It's
The ethics article.
yeah, it's currently this article, but we're talking about districts which are established. So it should be either
Gotcha.
section 203 or generally article 2.
So I think most of our cross references are to the section, although this.
Some of them do reference article, so I like section 203 because it's the right way to go. Also matches 1603.
Sounds where we can direct reference the section.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can do to adjust the article?
Yeah, there are a handful, but those are all right.
Sometimes it makes sense to
Yeah,
reference the exact section. So I'm going with 203.
two of these council districts.
First, you should get yourself a cookie.
Can I have the cookies and hand them?
I'll get a
Yeah.
Job well done.
cookie after however many dinners. I
There, restore stone.
have.
It was the same thing.
Let's see here, which one is yours?
I did 2 separate ones, which
Yeah,
was
so-
not good.
Brian, your older one was what we discussed last week.
Okay,
I'm not sure it's worth going back through. It's up to you guys. I just wanted to throw them all out there. But we pretty much thoroughly walked through them.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Then what's the other one, Commissioner Edits 2, or is that Ben's?
That was Ben.
That was
I
Ben's.
don't know how to say it.
So Commissioner one edits on
Well-
your old ones.
Yeah,
Okay, so we're doing the Commissioner three edits.
Oh, weird. It's really bizarre.
the 2
No, we remember that.
main items,
Meditative.
Yeah.
which I think were already addressed, were in, sorry.
So, Brian, I found one in 203. Separating out a 6th subsection, which I think makes sense.
Yes, that was one.
Yeah, and that is incorporated.
The other one was 1048,
And I
You-
fixed that.
fix that one, yeah,
It was missing like the introductory words.
exactly, just to match the other ones.
Yes.
Which was number 4, you said?
It was 1048. Let's see. One, I went comma crazy, but this one actually was,
Oxford comes everywhere.
we missed one. We missed it in section 15. I saw it.
We did our best. Now-
Where were you on that one?
Someone's gonna
Take
find
a
it.
cookie back.
Honestly, I probably called it.
Make it all
I
over.
just started lying.
So which one was that? You said 15?
Hold on. It wasn't that, it was, there was one in vacancies.
206, the 161.
I think you had it, it's just separating the three items.
Yeah, that sounds familiar, but let's double check.
There is a comment about in 2061 without a comma after town clerk.
I think that one's in there. That one's in
That says,
the
yeah.
copy. 2061 has
Mhm.
submits their resignation in writing to the town clerk, comma, when there's sufficient.
Right, it's a series.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that was it.
Well, next time I have to write a paper, I'm gonna come with you guys.
I think everything else was just comments, cynical ones.
Two towels, they store across from each other.
I haven't felt her yet.
I'm trying to make
No, I
sure.
know
that
what
I-
Do you wanna switch?
No,
I'm
I'm
miniature. My legs are like this long.
And if we want to add another comma, 1505. 1. It's behind, okay, there's a comma after gifts, except for the last gift, 15051.
It's in there.
The only one that-
That's the gift that he's giving.
Not the gray one, it's a straight.
Well, I was gonna have my husband bring my gift here.
Yeah,
I was
it's- it's
like,
true.
"Oh, never mind."
I have to put this down. I'll keep doing this.
Nice to share. I'm
Well,
Candace, I
sharing.
have yours if you want to just, because I think you're next.
Oh, am I next?
Yeah,
I've email.
Sharing
Did you do
is caring
1505-1, the last
nice.
comment?
got it.
So then I think,
I know what mine are. I don't need the book. I just felt like I'm peeking over his shoulder.
I went downstairs.
Didn't even notice.
I mean, everything on this screen says.
Is what I have to, yeah. I just I can't get, for some reason, my computer
So you had to come all the way around.
everything back up.
That's weird.
So
was that Hillary, was there any
It's not normal.
cross-reference to any of the ones that you separated out? Like the,
No, I don't believe so.
because that one referenced the transition. It was not-
There weren't that many girls.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've tried to look for. It's charter fatigue.
Yeah.
And then Canvas, you had your 2.
yeah, so I was just thinking about it. I think the first one is the signatures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just thinking that the mayor is at large and technically has 3 districts to receive 50 signatures from. And then the commission or the council people only have 1 district to receive 25. So they only get 1/3 of the population to receive 50% of the required of the mayor. Does that make sense? So I was just thinking it really should be more specific with what 1/3 would be, which is a weird number. So I was just thinking we should maybe lower it to 20.
We thought about it the other way. That we started with the district and then thought 75 was too many for the mayor.
Yeah, I think
And so
that's,
that's why it ended up like it did,
Mhm.
because we thought 75 was long.
75, 25,
We
25.
kind of
would
wanted
make sense.
25, maybe 25 when we used.
It's not hard.
10.
Yeah, like I said, these are
Didn't we have to
minor.
get 25?
no,
We had to get
we had to get
25.
Yeah, we had to get
But the
25.
current trustees are 10.
Yeah, I know, that's true.
Yeah, 10 is way too low. I was just thinking to make it a little bit more fair with the population that you're able to get signatures from. It would be a little bit more fair to make it 20. But I mean, this is not something that I feel deeply about. It was just something I wanted to bring up. The other one, though, we did get public comment on this. And that is, we're just removing the word town. We talked about it briefly last week, I think, and we didn't do anything about
I have it on do not disturb, but certain people can come through.
Yes, you're talking about 2053.
it. Yes.
So it's,
So no
It's
person
different.
who is an employee of a town or a town board or commission member may also serve on the town council. That's the question, that's the sentence in question, right?
Well, it should be the one about,
so shall not. Yeah, but
you can't hold additional offices,
Okay.
town offices. Or Yeah, so we say town offices, meaning you can't have two, like you can't be on a board and on the commission or whatever.
Right.
But I'm thinking that it should be more broad than that, just to avoid any type of conflict of interest. So for instance, you can't be the mayor and also a commissioner in Will County, or you can't be, you know, whatever it is. I don't know, just whatever we should do to
It should
avoid that
be
conflict of interest.
elected office, I mean, because office.
Yes, I would think elected office.
Or is it appointed? So that's 3A.
Elected or.
No person may be a candidate for more than one town office in the same election. No person may hold two town offices simultaneously. Is that?
I think what you're saying is a different municipality. You would include.
Yeah, because you could
Yes,
technically
any-
be on town,
So she
so
was talking.
town's council and well,
Right.
or county council.
Yeah.
And
so-
Hillary,
And the school board, I mean, there's,
you can't do that, or maybe that's like state offices, you can't hold lower offices. as well.
Vacancy.
Right.
right, and I was just thinking, we got a public comment about it, and I was just thinking about it, and it's like, what's the reason not to remove it?
I think we need something there. It could be as a general municipal office or government elected office.
Oh, an elected or appointed office, I think is
Yeah.
fine.
What if they're on
The
a,
URA board is gonna cut. That's an appointed position, and I know it's a different one than the normal advisory boards, but the URA board is a collection of people who hold other positions. A majority of those, so that may cause a conflict.
So maybe just elected then, right, because those people would be,
they could be elected if they're a special district representative and they're on the board.
Like the school district is an elected position, and then the URA board is an appointed position.
so maybe just elect, so maybe if we just specify elected
That also
office.
means like metro district position,
Okay.
right? You wouldn't
Like
be
a
able
board
to-
member.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to be a
Did that.
metro district board member and
And a
Which-
town, but then are we talking about elected?
Or
That's a council position. Like you can't be a town councilor and a school district or and a a county commissioner or a metro district, something like that.
United power. Isn't that considered elected?
It sounds like what we're trying to avoid is a conflict of interest.
It's got interest issue.
And that those people would
understand
be
what
subject to
you
the
want.
state statute
Yeah.
against conflicts of interest anyway. So there's, Title 24 prohibits public officers from having conflicts in general.
But is that personal finance or is it more than that?
because I know there was. one
It's being
book-
conflicted. I think it's broader than that. It's the question of would they be acting, in which capacity would they be acting?
Isn't there like one in Lafayette, maybe, where someone was elected to a county seat and was on the town seat and did not resign?
He was a Boulder city council member, who was also elected to the legislature, or appointed to the legislature with full seat. And she chose to maintain both positions.
And then-
Public office? More than one public office?
Does a metro district seat count as a public office?
That's the question.
So yeah, I think I agree with the intent, so now what's the word?
Right.
Where are we covered from umbrella policy? Like you said, there's a state,
Title 24.
Title 24.
I'm opening that now.
I'm sorry,
That's a good one.
like last day.
I mean, we talked about it last time, I can't remember.
We
how
did,
many-
yeah, we talked about it last time and then we were like, oh, who would want to do that? But then I was like, gosh, we should probably put something in there that does protect it. Because clearly people do that.
If that person was appointed, then that would cover anything. Because they were,
Well, if it was.
because they were appointed to the seat.
If we say public office though,
Have wording like to a seat that is generally elected.
But then, like, again, does that count their special districts? Are those generally elected? I guess they are,
They
right?
are.
Because they're
Mhm.
elected by people
within the district.
live in the district.
Does not the fire department have positions like that? probably.
What about the United Power
Yeah,
Board?
Yeah,
United
that was what I
Power
said
Board,
before.
because that
Yes.
was just done, right?
Yeah,
So you wouldn't be able to be on the United Power Board.
But maybe that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's probably a pretty good thing to keep those things separate so that there is
There
not,
could be a conflict there.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're a franchisee.
And then you're counting on somebody recusing themselves, but they would still have, potentially could still have influence over the other votes, so. I don't know, I'm just trying to think, it came up in public comment and I was like. It kind of just kept coming back to me and I was like, yeah, why didn't we do that last week? Maybe we should.
So local government official is defined in Title 20 as an elected or appointed official of a local government.
So we could say instead of,
So we could say local government official as defined in Title 24, public officer means an elected officer, the head of a principal department of the executive branch, and any other state officer. So that one's probably not as good. But wait, it goes on, public officer, it's not government.
I mean, that would be like governor, right? Head executive office for state office.
Right, and that's what you have, I mean, that's Title 24 is mostly applicable to the state, but then there are certain provisions that reach down and apply to local governments.
still could have it both ways.
So, I mean, local government official seems like a potentially viable.
Does local cover state?
24 countries.
Yeah, I know, but again,
Well,
you
we
just have
could say
both ways.
state or local
Yeah,
government official.
okay.
Mhm.
That works.
And state would cover county.
okay, but
State
this is
covers county.
an elected or appointed official of a local government, but does not include an employee of the local government.
Right.
Well, we have employees
So we
specifically.
have to call it. employees.
Right,
We already have those.
but does that include a United Power Board or a metro district?
Because that's a generally elected. Right? That would-
Elected or appointed. So United Power Board is elected by its members.
Mhm.
It's just a corporation, so that in order to touch corporate officers, you'd have to say, so can't be an officer of a nonprofit or.
That can get messy because
Yeah.
a lot of people who volunteer are volunteers on other boards too.
Yeah, and I don't
Right.
think we need to go that
No.
far, right? That's, it's just anything that can have conflict of interest with towns specific to what you're doing here.
What about an elected official that is engaged with conducting business with the town of Erie,
But then that would include like business owners.
Yeah,
but they're not elected?
whatever, I like whatever Hillary
So you're-
said though.
State or local. State or local government official.
I think that's broad enough to protect what it is we're trying to protect, but
Without getting. too
yeah, without
specific.
getting too specific and like, what about this, or what about that? And I think, you know, if people wanna try to poke holes or find loopholes, are gonna find them whether, you know, we make this ironclad or not.
And that'll probably come out though under 301 under the code of ethics
Right.
and conflict of interest. So
So,
I think between the two, we're probably.
so
Yeah,
like state, you said state covers county, right?
yes,
Okay, so like state and local elected official, that would cover state officials, county officials, other towns, if you wanted to do that,
What about school boards?
school boards,
Because that's state.
and it would also cover special districts because those are governed under the state, no?
I don't think it would probably cover special districts.
Does local, would that count as a local then? Because it's a local,
Local
It's kind of
government
hybrid.
means any county, city and counties. Oh, it does say special district. So if we say local government and refer back to Title 24, Article 18, then we've got special districts covered.
Now, does it relate to the urban renewal authority?
No person might hold two positions. I mean, because there's a statute requiring that, I'm not sure the charter would come into play. And if you can't be in compliance with the urban renewals law without having a person holding two positions as a state or local government official simultaneously, I think.
But isn't the Urban Renewal Authority Board appointed entirely?
They
Right.
are,
like,
but, so you guys have expanded under 1348, is that the case? Okay,
Yeah.
so the requirement for the special districts and such to come up with their own representative, I imagine they're appointed. I don't know how they get to the board. I think they just work among themselves. and decide.
That's my recollection is that they, like Weld County, and Boulder County, pick somebody.
Yeah,
And then they send them to us, the town, and then they were appointed or approved.
accepted.
Yeah, accepted.
Yeah,
So
acknowledged
it's not
as being-
elected.
No,
And if the language that we're putting in here is you can't hold two positions as a state or local government official, and then you go back to 24, government official means
elected or appointed.
elected or appointed. Okay, so
This, the language wouldn't prevent council members from also serving on the urban renewal authority.
No, because that's required by statute. too. I mean, we could.
I mean, I guess we could write except for URA.
But that's a specific thing that,
Yeah, except as required under the urban renewal law,
is that a constitutional thing or is that just a state law?
just statute.
I'm concerned, cities councils actually appoint different people to serve on their urban renewal authority. It's a different group than their elected body. So the language, just a strict interpretation would make it look like it requires that.
So maybe,
that's what I'm worried about too.
so maybe as, just leave it general as, except as required under
Yeah.
state law. Except for certain, allowed for, required, not allowed for, required.
But it's not required under state law.
It's
Well,
not.
I mean, it's not required for the board of trustees to serve as URA.
Okay,
Or the city council, that the governing entity can choose that those people hold those same positions.
Do we have an ordinance that would cover that?
The URA is designated by ordinance as being the board of trustees.
Right. I mean, what I'm thinking is if we have an ordinance, we could say, or is covered by ordinance.
but then
The charter.
the council
provides-
can, but then the council can pass ordinance and say we're allowed to serve as another.
You're the king of all things.
Because that, I mean, yeah, that's the thing, when you're trying to avoid that.
That would,
Why can't we just say except for URA?
Yeah, I agree.
Because URA is a transitory, it could technically be a transitory thing, right? It's not necessarily, it's not a constitutional thing, so it's not.
No, I mean, there's the urban renewal law, which we can cite to and say as amended.
As in, okay.
we can't have any other bills like that.
Or could it be,
That's what I was wondering.
unless required by state statute?
But it's not, that's what,
It's
It's not
allowed.
required.
the URA is not required to sit and
That'd be-
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. got it.
so this
Got it.
would
So it's
still.
not my ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that, yeah. Why don't we just say except URA? If something weird
That's
comes up.
fine.
Yeah.
So state or
Get
local,
their dinner and get out.
state or local elected office and or anything under the urban renewal as amended.
Yeah, I need to noodle on that a little bit. So except as.
Okay, while Hillary is noodling on that, the first one, we never actually talked about your first suggestion. Does anyone feel strongly or one way or the other about
20 versus 25.
or
I
increasing the
don't feel
mayors?
strongly.
I don't feel strongly. I think 25 is a reasonable number, but
I get the argument, but I don't know that 20
Yeah, I don't
Sure,
know.
make
I
it
mean,
mayor
qualifies that
75?
argument.
Well,
good.
that's the thing, I think that's where we, like someone mentioned, I think that's where we had started, is like, we thought 25 was a good number for.
For a third.
councilors,
Yeah,
And then we were saying 75, and it was like, that's a lot for mayor.
I mean, I'm good just leaving it. It was like one of those things that you're like, laying in bed, you're like.
Five over happiness, how many registered voters in your
Right.
town telling me
That
they
is
come up to
better.
75?
We could,
No.
we could furthermore make it 25 people from each district.
Ooh.
You know what, though, actually, speaking of that, do we have anything in there where it says that you can't sign more than however many seats there are?
For the same office.
Yeah, do we have that in there?
I'll say, yeah, because I
I'm sure
think,
we do, but
there's something about that.
Wait for signatures.
yeah,
yeah, for
We
signatures,
have it.
like, I can't sign
Yeah.
4 different people in my district and there's only 2 seats.
yeah. really far.
That's
I
not.
don't think we did.
There was something about that, I'm trying to.
Yeah, I'm looking for two.
But yeah, that's a good
Well,
thing to verify.
well, we're not at ranked choice yet,
Right.
but when you get to ranked choice, I'm not sure that.
To
It doesn't-
run, it's just your
No, no.
requirements to run.
No, yeah, but that I could sign for more people than there are positions for.
Shouldn't be allowed to do that. I mean, we can,
The
we
way
have
it
to keep
is,
track of how many people signed our.
well, the way it is right now, you can't do that.
Yeah.
If there's 2 seats open, I can only sign two
Petitions.
petitions.
But why should I not be allowed to sign 100 petitions if 100 people are on?
Right, that's what I'm wondering.
If I,
That's.
I don't know, it's just the way that it is right now.
I mean, I don't see an issue if you wanna sign for people, then.
Well, but Debbie has to check that stuff, right?
I do.
And
And
what,
she has
what,
to-
what do you,
Cross-check.
you know, what rule are you following from where? Is it
So right
statutory?
now, I'm following statutory rule.
Okay.
Which is what?
That you can only sign as many petitions
As there are
as.
seats.
As there are seats,
And do they sign more, so they just don't count for any of them?
whatever comes in.
No, it's by date,
It's
right?
by date,
Okay,
and if
The same date.
they're all the same date, then it all is gone. Yeah, you don't get a vote.
You get to vote, you don't get yours to sign.
Your signatures don't count.
You don't get to sign your
Is-
signatures.
so since we didn't write anything here, we go back to statute, that would still be the
Yeah.
case.
We've still generally adopted, and I need to finish this edit. So when we talk about nominations,
It's 201. 4
yeah,
for 5. sorry.
Go on, 4 and 5 is when we talk about nominations, but there's nothing restricting.
right, I know, that's what I'm looking at.
it's in the recall and initiative section that we adopt the statutes except as modified. So we could do something similar, that except as modified by this section, the provisions of X apply, and those provisions would fill in the things that we haven't covered, like the number of times you can sign on a petition. Or sign a petition.
But as written, it still automatically goes to that because we don't specify, right?
Well, I mean, it's a question, I think, as a matter of applying the charter. I would probably get there as your municipal attorney to say surely there wasn't an intent to have no limits. But
But then it becomes a matter of interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to adopt that same language where, except as laid out here, the rules of the state election law apply as amended?
Right here underneath the nomination requirement paragraph.
Well, I
so.
think it would just be, because we're talking, like, that section applies to all elections, right? Municipal election, like,
let me find, we do adopt 3110, and I feel like this is in 31.
So, okay, the 2016.
With this signed copy of the chart of the table of contents is messed up.
Awesome.
I just want to point that out before I forget.
Yeah, it's because, so, yeah, I mean, the table of contents was formatted with the last version.
and then we
Mine
just
did.
adopt
There's no-
and
Yeah, it always is. That's why I love this room.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is cozy.
Mm-hmm.
Inputting 15 people in a Volkswagen will do that.
I never bring tea.
Okay.
and just the article header, the article major headers aren't there for a few of them.
So we have adopted 3110 as part of the elections, and that's where the nomination requirements come in.
So where
So-
did we adopt that in election again?
It is in Article 5, elections law, election laws, sorry.
Okay, so that covers us as far as the, you can't petition, you can't sign more petitions than offices for that. So mayor can only, you can only sign one petition for mayor and 2 maximum per district if both seats are up for election.
Yeah, I mean, it's the statutory language is no registered elector shall sign more than one nomination petition for each separate office to be filled.
I'm okay with leaving it like that.
I'm good with that.
Follows state statute.
Yeah.
Do we want to wrap up on 201?
Strap you from your wall.
Let's see. I want to read out what I have. Okay, so it's 2013A.
201?
Um,
There's no 301.
Sorry, 205.
Okay.
205. Okay, so the first sentence remains, no person may be a candidate for more than one town office in the same election, period. Except as permitted by the Urban Renewal Law, CRS 3125-101 et sec, as amended. No person may hold two positions as a state or local government official as those terms are defined in Title 24, Article 18 CRS as amended simultaneously. And I think I will change and add simultaneously.
Yeah, it's just gonna suggest.
No person
Yes.
may simultaneously.
Okay, so then to clarify our intent, we don't want anyone serving on more than one elected position at a state or local level, which includes county seats, other towns, special districts, school boards,
States.
yeah, states, more than one at a time.
Elected or appointed.
Correct.
Well, yeah, because under the state statute she's referencing, appointed for an elected position counts as an elected position.
It counts as a local government official.
Okay. Do we want to generalize 3B then, so that a person may be candidate for any town office while serving in another state or local office? Or, yeah, state or local office, so basically they can run for town office while they're sitting in another office, but they can't hold both of them at the same time. Because
in another town or another.
Like state or
Either.
county or special district, they can be, like, say, I can be sitting on the special district board and then run for mayor. But I can't hold both of those positions.
Right, or just in general, right? Because if you're a trustee and you're continuing to serve as a trustee and running for mayor for the following election, that should be allowed.
I thought we
But this
stopped that. I thought we put something in here.
No, you can't,
No, it
you
says-
can't, oh,
Yeah, this is our agreement. We said,
yes.
if you're serving a city, you can't, and your term is not up, you can't run for mayor and then lose and then serve the rest of your
Continue your
time.
term.
as
You're
a
right, we
trustee.
did put that in.
We
No.
didn't put that.
No, yeah, you
We
didn't.
discussed it.
He says person may be a candidate for one town office while serving in another town office, and if not elected, may serve out their existing term.
Well,
So that's-
I thought we had a whole conversation
No,
about that.
It's gotta be like in the election section or something like that, because I remember
It's
that.
gotta be somewhere.
I remember we.
Maybe it just got missed then.
Do we want to add it?
Yeah.
Stop, you're making me crazy.
Amy was saying you're gonna like leave. in this
We've
meeting.
covered it and thoroughly covered it. I feel like second guessing stuff at this 11th hour is kind of dangerous.
That wasn't second guessing though. That was a really in-depth conversation that we didn't want somebody to like abandon their position, go run for mayor.
I mean,
Not
second
gonna
guessing the draft, because at this
Oh.
point, if it hasn't been pointed out as, hey, this didn't reflect our conversation last week. I mean, each week you reviewed it and said whether it reflected your conversation. So if a section isn't how you wanted it to be, I think we would know before now. But that's my point. You guys have all been paying
Yeah, I'm a
attention.
little overwhelmed at making changes tonight because I read it,
But because
other than like grammar formatting.
I thought I saw
Like
that.
content changes sounds like a little,
I thought I saw that somewhere in there. I really feel like.
If you can give me keywords that you think, I mean, I'll search, but I can't recall.
Yeah,
offhand.
and the problem is that means you wouldn't know whether to have somebody run for that other office until they won, which means you'd have an initial, almost immediate special election to fill that vacancy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
It could have
think-
been more than 2 years.
Right, which is why we didn't, which was one of the reasons why we didn't want to allow it, right?
No, if you allow it, if you take out the thing that says, I'm gonna run for mayor,
Well, I'm a councilor. Councilman.
do you in that election, then declare the vacancy before it happens and have candidates run for that position?
Because yeah, that would, you're right, I think what you mentioned about the special election, because if you're running for mayor as a counselor, and it's close to an election, it basically well, no, because
I'm wondering, yeah, you would have to resign.
because it would trigger a special election if it's more than 2 years out.
Right, that's what I'm worried
It
about.
opens it.
Right.
It
It
opens
opens a can of
Yeah,
worms.
it's a can of worms.
I mean, you're gonna have to anyway if they win. So what we're saying is they would have to, in essence, early resign.
They would have to resign
the date
to
of the
run.
election. So then you could have. I'm not worried about changing this at this point.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
I'm
problematic.
I
overwhelmed.
think we should like wrap it up, folks. Put a nice little bow on it.
Hillary, do you need a gavel to throw at Ben?
That's your job.
Just not ever dumb at you.
She said that for my job.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm trying to think, I'm trying to think back to that discussion. Does anyone remember when that was?
It was in this room.
I think it
room.
was sitting right
Yeah.
here.
We were in this room for sure.
So.
It was one of our first meetings.
When was the last meeting we had in this room? Hillary?
we only had one of these.
It was,
It was the first.
in
'Cause I took notes. I'm pretty
December?
sure I had
December.
notes.
what I was
Would have been
thinking.
December, I think.
It's the third Thursday in December or Wednesday.
December 15th.
Beginning with Wednesday.
It was when we were finally like starting to have
Yeah, we had
super
real
relevant
meetings.
Get our
discussions.
feet under us,
that was
yeah.
the night that we ran really late, like 10:30.
Started off first, so it was the 15th.
Oh, I think,
Amazing.
right.
I feel like we could have reasons argued against that. Which one of the boards?
It would have to be in the election section. I can.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Trying to find somewhere in the area that just amended. And see it.
Let me throw this out. If you didn't keep this provision, it would give an unfair advantage to council members whose terms coincided with the mayor's terms. Because otherwise, if your term didn't coincide with the mayor's terms, you would, if you ran for mayor and lost, you'd lose out. If your term coincide, you lose 2 years of your term. If you, but if your term coincided with the mayor's term, you wouldn't have that penalty.
Yeah,
That
it does
makes
make it uneven and unfair to.
So that's the point is if you've got 2 more years as a counselor, do your term and then run for mayor. And I guess that means there could be a 2-year gap because the mayor is a 4-year position now. So there could be a 2-year gap before you run for mayor.
You are.
I think Hillary mentioned that it would be an unfair restriction, just like Malcolm said, to office.
Yeah.
I
feel
wasn't
like
here for
it's
that
in the
conversation because this is the first time.
But I
I've
think
been
it was in
here.
your notes.
Yeah, I'm looking back at the notes from December and January.
Yeah.
When December.
December 15th, it was the meeting. It was a December 15th meeting. Like Ben said.
Which meeting?
If you're counting our first meeting where we all say aye, so.
Yes, it was.
So that then the next meeting would be the January 5th meeting, which would have had that. Edit.
We should have sat in our assigned
That was
seats.
one of the questions that we had tagged for you, Hillary.
Mhm.
About barring candidates. Like one person per position per election and all that stuff. Okay. Yeah, I don't have that written down as one of their decisions.
Okay. So these are the red lines to 205, 303, 303, 3 as of January 10th draft. And it says, no person may be a candidate for more than one town office at the same election. No person may hold 2 town offices simultaneously. That. Recommend keeping this as is. The alternative could be problematic as an improper restriction against the ability to seek public office.
So, yeah,
Thanks for
that-
clearing it up.
Yeah, that was one of the things we had asked her about that.
Okay.
And
Okay, so we dropped it.
yeah, so that after that, it's from dropped.
So it, before that, it said a person may be a candidate for the office of mayor while serving as a council member, and if not elected, mayor may, I don't know, it's hard to read the red lines, but this is what addressed it, and after this comment, the changed language became what B is now.
Mhm.
So you guys reviewed it presumably the meeting after and were okay with it?
And when you, I think when you said improper, that's like a legal, like it could be legally challenged that it
That was restricting people from
restricts.
serving out their duly elected term.
Well, more that they're prohibited from trying to get a new term, because I don't think you necessarily have a protected interest in serving out a term.
And that does mean though that it would trigger a special election to fill the vacancy.
Okay,
Even if they lost.
what else do
No,
we need to
well,
know?
no, now, I'm talking about if they win, we still have to have that special election.
Right, but the thing is like,
It would
if
automatically.
we put it, then we restricted it, they would, even if they lost, they would have had to resign and it would trigger a special election.
Right.
No, what I'm thinking is we would have them resign when they run.
Yeah,
Resign if
but
that's
they
the case, it
put
would
their
be on.
petition in the day of.
No, but it still could be on that same election as the mayor election.
For their replacement.
Right.
And that's what he's saying, not necessarily, but there might not be enough time if they put in the candidacy and resignation.
On the
right
last
at-
day.
On the last day.
But
And then there's-
No.
this is
We-
irrelevant, you guys.
It's
irrelevant.
Let's focus.
Okay,
Not one.
We can talk about this at Bob's house and party.
anything
All day.
else?
There'll be plenty of foods we haven't told you you can make it. It's like,
Hillary, you have all the red lines from
In
today,
the maybes, did you come?
yes,
okay? Do we want to talk over them real quick, just summarize them? Or should we just accept and print?
Up to you, I can start at the beginning and
Just the major ones, not the formatting commas,
so the first one is the one we just covered.
okay?
Citation 205. I didn't start tracking changes until I was like adding text, so I don't have track changes on commas and stuff.
Okay.
So 2053A is the except as permitted by the urban renewal law as amended, no person may simultaneously hold 2 positions as a state or local government official as those terms are defined in Title 24, Article 18 CRS as amended.
Everyone good with that? Next,
That's all I have in there. I can do a compare real quick.
I mean, no, if that was the only thing we
mean, we-
had a text for.
The notes we done one out tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we put it cross-reference, right? So
Do we fix a,
right, I was gonna say,
Table of
there's
contents?
some for.
Well, so I don't think I can't efficiently fix the table of contents. My suggestion is gonna be that if there's a motion to approve the resolution, that it specify that there is the table of contents can be updated to reflect the actual content of the document.
especially
not
since some, yeah,
substantive.
the pages might shift as well with the additions.
Right.
But the signature page is above it, isn't it?
No,
Or is it
No,
at the
it's
end?
the last.
It's the very last page.
All right. The resolution was above it.
Okay, so would that have to go in the text of the resolution? Or,
I think that can be added by motion, so that it would be, I move to approve resolution one, 23-1, and specify that the table of contents may be updated.
okay, so that means up until we present it to the board, the table of contents can be fixed. No, or
Okay.
until the one day tomorrow.
Well, yeah,
Tomorrow.
I mean, will Jenny be able to do the table of contents tomorrow?
I'll ask her. I don't know.
I mean, I guess actually technically I can change the attachment up until Monday.
Okay,
evening.
kind of like we did for today's, because we readjusted.
Yeah, as long as it's
And
24.
there's room for maybe 6 or 7 new lines without changing page numbers. So hopefully we'll be okay.
More contents.
Yeah. I guess that's probably like 6.
So, should we do this? Do you want to do, what, do them down or?
I'm sorry, what?
Do we want to like final red lines with all of today's changes, except all changes from Hillary? Do we need to print it out and then?
That's up to you guys. I mean, we could print out the signature page and,
Which I have here.
yeah, and then we can attach it to this 420 draft. I mean, I don't think it all has to happen, like in hard copy in this room. I think we all understand what's gonna go on. But if that's what you prefer, we can print this for you.
And if need be, would it be okay if you had to white out the page number?
Yeah, because the signature page has a page number too.
We can force that to be a page all on its own. I mean, if the page before it ends midway,
No, we're worried about it going longer.
Oh,
So
I
instead of
see.
being page 44, it would now be 45 or whatever it was.
well, if you can print it.
Yeah, it was
I mean, let's print
44.
it. Oh, you don't,
Well,
well,
the table of contents is gonna change.
Other,
but the table of contents, what's wrong with the table of contents?
It's missing some items.
It doesn't reflect the actual.
But the table of contents, oh, I see what
And
you're
it's
saying.
numbered. It had it in I.
No, what they're saying is if there's more headers that are missing.
We have a room for, I think, 6 or so looking at it, eyeballing it, and I'm not sure there were that number.
Could you push it to page 45? And if 44 needs to be.
Say this page intention blank, yeah.
That's why they do
I was
that.
actually thinking the exact same
My
thing.
version doesn't have the names because I turned it over.
I can do that.
Okay, so. we'll do it.
I can do that.
I mean,
Some of us are ready to go.
It's gonna be the
I would
fastest
never guess
picture
that.
ever.
other charters have done the signature page just says the front. Can we just move the page number and just stick it on the front? Is that not?
And that's what I was thinking when I thought it was,
Just add a page,
yeah, I,
push it to the very end. And
Yeah,
then if we don't need it,
yep, I think you can, that makes sense.
well, we can put 2 numbers.
Most of these pages are left.
And neither of those numbers are prime anyway.
That's not why I don't like paper 45.
Let's stay away from
So
that.
I'm just going to print
Page
this.
45 is not
I'll keep this page.
a number.
As an appendix. then the page number is-
There we go, yeah.
Appendix A.
There you
and
go.
Page A1.
We're not even numbered.
Is it 345?
Not even numbered.
Yes.
That's what I said.
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
A10, right?
Okay.
And then I'm going through.
Nobody wants to talk about anything else.
Do you?
Oh. I did the curve.
13.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
We may have more discussion.
Why?
Well, I don't want you guys
What?
mad at me there.
Nobody's gonna
No,
be mad
no,
at you. This is it.
Let's do it, let's do it.
Well, okay,
Well,
so
they figure out it's one.
somebody said something about the legality of restricting term limits, and the whole transition thing was on the table, and this is the first time we've all been together in the same freaking room, and it was really contested. So. I mean,
So I don't
if
have-
we're restricting it, I mean, if we're Emily and,
We're shortening terms by voter approval. That is not, in my mind, the same thing as saying if you're in office for this position, you are not allowed to run for that position. So I view them as distinguishable. I don't see a legal risk with the transition provisions as drafted.
okay, great, and that's all I wanted to hear, like,
Yeah.
from you, because, you know, once you bring up the legality of shortening terms and stuff like that, it's kind of, you know, is worrisome.
Well, I think,
But if
keep
you're
in mind-
prepared to defend it.
Keep in mind that the legality of the disqualifying a council member from running for mayor, that's prospective and it's affecting their right to make a decision while they're in one position about another. The transition provision is a voter approved charter that says your term ends now, approved by voters. You know, I don't view them as being at all similar.
Okay. But I'm good.
That doesn't get around the dissatisfaction, which
Right.
we should be prepared to talk about.
Right.
Can I ask a clarifying question? The trustees whose terms are going to be shortened, are they eligible to run for re-election? Okay.
Yeah.
You said that
Okay,
they do
that's-
not-
And,
Yeah, so
and,
that doesn't count.
and their shortened terms don't count, so we
Yeah.
could like
Or it's
go,
term limits.
that's like the compromise of,
Yeah.
sorry, we want
Totally
to create slate everybody equally elected to their districts. And the compromises,
Your term will not count.
your term doesn't
So you
count.
can run for 2 more, baby.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then a mayor. And then wait 4 years and do it again.
That's a repeat.
That's some good punishment.
What did we decide on for page number?
She went to, I added one, and if
If need be, we'll say it's
if
like.
need to, we can put in
This
this page
page.
intentionally left blank.
Oh,
I'm still waiting for someone to say this page accidentally left blank.
can we put that in there? I think that would be-
That's
that
kind of,
would make our charter, everybody would vote for it if we did
They'll
that.
probably put it down and be like, what about these idiots? You can't trust them to write a document.
So Malcolm, is your email, have we addressed it?
You've addressed.
Okay.
Page.
While you were working on others.
Yeah, I can't
Because
say
another-
that.
because it wasn't-
Yeah.
What's that blank?
So,
Your solution was
That's
better.
true.
But it also wasn't unintentional.
Yeah,
so Ash,
Yes.
things.
we need our formal vote.
yeah, we have to have somebody make a motion.
I
and it-
motion.
and it- Wait. And as Hillary said, the motion needs to reference that the table of contents can be updated, and then you'll need a second, and then Ash, you'll have to call for a show of hands.
And that'll be our formal vote.
Adam, motion.
Oh, wow.
It seemed like you were paying attention.
Yeah.
He's done it before.
Yeah. All
I'll
right.
second for you.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
All right, Chair, I move to approve the home rule charter as written now with the amendment that the table of contents will need to be, is this?
That's the
This is the
resolution.
resolution 2301 that approves the charter commission as written currently with the addition of a need for edits to the table of contents in order to reflect the articles as written and numbered currently because of our edits today.
I second.
Right, show of hands for approval of resolution 2301.
Mr. Chair, it's unanimous.
Wow, sweet, good work, guys.
I need that
Yeah,
back.
trying to put you on the spot.
So, we need each of you to sign this, and then Ash needs to sign these. resolutions.
I brought my own pen.
Okay.
Your finger and sign the blood.
I'm good.
Well, that is the resolution.
Okay. Do I have to-
Debbie will fill that out.
Okay.
Oh, will you guys pass down one of those?
You need to-
Five bucks.
$10.
Oh, thanks.
Are you done?
It's just like the 9 things, so we can.
Just wait for it. No, there was only 5 minutes.
It's going on
Oh, you wanna
eBay.
It's
take
like
it?
when
The
the
real
president
reason
tries
they
to
gave
make,
us
say,
food is
write each letter with a
grease
different name, give them away, right?
Okay.
Oh, I didn't practice my signature.
Did you forget your name?
He did.
I just made it nervous.
Should we get our cameras out and start videoing this?
Actually, he's on video. Okay, then we'll start. Have you start that?
It's gonna go slow. I gotta go slow.
We can practice signatures for my digital signature. Does the town clerk have to verify your signatures?
Well, she's
Someday.
watching.
She's watching.
She's
Watching.
watching when you sign.
I'm joking.
Sorry, Bob.
Cause like,
Pizza like science all day.
It's in space.
Yes.
Simon is in Colorado. I'm not sure maybe. Oh, everything's
That's-
blue?
That's what I was
I
saying.
can't do much of that, you know?
When I was in.
Yeah, well, yeah, it has to be exactly the same.
Yeah, you need
All
to.
Like for zoning.
back when
Right.
they used to be mayor.
When I was in banking.
My name doesn't
there
fit on
was
the
initial-
line.
Constantly initialing things.
What's up for
So
you?
eventually I just
So
kind of
long.
created like an initial.
And then I went and named my girls.
And so for a long time, that's all I signed, because everything was just my
So every
initial.
mortgage
And then
revised
after
is
a
gonna
while,
take
I
forever.
started
Oh my
writing
gosh,
down,
yes.
like,
And my sister-in-law,
this is a
her name is
long
Amy, and she was
game.
like, when I got pregnant, she was like,
My favorite is.
give your
in
girls
Japan,
short names, because our
the way
last
that they
name's
do
really long.
signatures is that when
And I
you become,
didn't, and now I'm sad.
like, things are no longer a minor, you become, you
I didn't sign
have
up
to
for
go on
this
the
at the
dot
same
signature seal.
I'm so.
We have to reprint this.
I am
because of you.
so grateful. I can see myself doing
Your
it.
signature's beautiful.
So that little seal.
Oh,
It's just one.
I'm saying.
My husband is like B and then like a line, and I gotta forge it every time.
Yeah.
Maybe blow
Well,
on it,
I'm
make
never
sure,
signed Bob.
blow on it, make sure nobody else.
Oh,
has
should it be?
ink
I ran and Papa.
in. We did, yeah.
My name's Benjamin, but.
Miranda's dragon.
Dragon,
That's a
Dragon
White
White
House.
House.
That's awesome.
Same, I have the same problem. Oh, my tea looks like. Do we get to keep these? It's
Will you guys sign my name tag? I'm kind of serious.
like a yearbook.
I'm gonna
mixed
put it in
with
my
goals.
thing, and I'm gonna show my,
I got news for you.
well, somebody made a joke, have you guys seen the TikTok that said get to know old people, seniors now, because they're so much cooler than seniors are gonna be someday? Like, here's a picture of my breakfast, you know, like, yeah. Anyways, I work with seniors, I love seniors.
I
Oh,
don't know for the next 2 minutes.
That's fine.
Just right.
You signed, you can step out.
Let me volunteer very soon.
We still have to go over the presentation.
I just wanna remember all of you.
Oh.
In the door.
So when I leave, this will help trigger my memory
Most of
when
them.
I'm telling my
I don't
grandkids.
think, I don't think it'll be quick,
Your answers are fine.
Oh, it's so much nicer.
but I think it'll be quick, so it shouldn't be too much.
So,
See?
So you'll send me that.
That's like-
That's fine. I can
And the
just.
associated devices.
What I'm gonna do is scan the last
And I already, Jenny asked her to do this.
I want you
Yeah,
guys
don't look
to.
at me, my degree's in speech.
I'm gonna talk about you guys in a meeting. for
There's a
this week.
reason I went to business management and
I
this is.
I still have, this is.
Gotta keep that, that's town history. And when they do decide on districts.
I will totally call her and go,
Little help center. I've been part of the writing policy for a long time.
Which one?
Conversations.
They're actually,
no, we're still supposed to talk about.
To get the data.
Hey,
Go back to school.
I want all of you guys to sign my name tag. It's like, I'm gonna be my yearbook.
Right, I seriously am gonna write, stay cool, keep in touch, happy
Please.
summer. And then I'm gonna put my mom and dad's landline.
I mean, have a great summer is appropriate, right?
I'm gonna do anything. I signed the crack, I signed your crack.
Oh,
You
yeah.
remember that from like elementary school? That was back-
Elementary, high school.
Just nobody say until next year.
Yeah,
It's gonna help me remember.
see you next time.
Yeah.
Don't.
And if there's extra cookies, I'm bringing it to home.
Okay, so to clarify,
Oh, yeah, I
if
can do the
this
same right at one.
does not pass, are we brought back?
Yeah, you all are commissioners until the charter passes or it fails a second time.
If
Fails
it
the
fails, they
second
vote
time.
again. Oh,
Yeah, we have
fails
another
the
year.
second
If it fails in
That's why I
November,
said no one
you
say
guys get to
until next
reconvene and try and rewrite it.
You're fine, you guys can sign my next name tag. If
No,
it fails.
no.
If it fails.
No,
We're sending positive vibes.
that's not gonna.
Positive,
But we
goodbye,
should
Toby.
probably, at some point, we should talk about a publicity campaign. Or,
Yeah,
publicity, well,
You can't.
informational.
You can't.
Can't spend any money on your.
No, I know, can't spend money.
Electors. I mean, you as individuals can talk to voters, but you can't
I've already
come
started.
out with it.
Me too.
pro charter campaign.
No, I'm not even talking about pro or anti. I'm talking about explaining it.
I think we just have to do that.
Just
in
keep
As
pointing the
individuals.
home, is that home rule charter kind of explain what, I mean, it is kind of like
Leave
There are
plenty of room
still-
for me to write
Well,
my
basic.
There's still a lot there's still a lot of people out there, I think, who don't understand. what we-
So we're
Guess what
allowed
they
to
charge
talk
to fix that?
as
I've
individuals,
got a
right?
couple people
It's individuals.
inviting me
Yeah.
over.
So we can't do any sort of like coordinated.
I've been talking about
Well,
it.
can we do
Yeah.
things like,
No,
like I did that
I
lunch
stuck
for
a
the
fan in
seniors?
it. I blew it all out. I didn't.
Can we talk about things like that?
Yeah.
If you're speaking as Bob and not as,
Commissioner Bob.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Bob.
Okay.
So,
So,
yeah,
I'm really worried that there's still a lot of people in town who don't, even though it's been in the municipal, court.
It came out of the wall and then
When I did that talk, there were still a lot of people who had no idea.
and that's fine, like, it's just, we can't,
More
I
than
don't
half.
think we can. Bob,
Yeah.
we can't coordinate that as a commission. That's what was my understanding. If you want to go out and talk as individuals, and we'll keep doing that.
So, are you all gonna talk about the
Yes.
presentation?
Yes.
Let's get the
Yes,
presentation.
Lisa needs to know what we're gonna wear.
Yes, I need to know.
I need to know if I'm getting a tap dance solo or
Not the Scorpio, or Scorpion,
not the scorpion.
not the
Alright. Did everyone have a chance to review with my written notes in there, just what I plan to talk through?
Yes.
And any edits or comments on it? I think the biggest one would have been like, I need to probably, where is it? The slide about the transition, talk about a little bit more on electing a whole new council and how that looks, and like just, yes, we'll be cutting 2 people's terms short. As a consolation, their terms sort of don't count towards the term limits, whereas the previous ones do.
But like Hillary's comment that it's the electors that are cutting the term short, it is not us.
Right. But that's, I mean, it's gonna be one of it's the effect of passive.
No, I,
gentrification.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
you need to test that.
Yeah, no, I agree, this is.
Don't take the blame.
So I was thinking, like, if I modify this and just like move that, we will elect a whole new council on November 2024, move it to another slide and just kind of lay out a little bit more of that, 5 members whose terms were ending anyways will, have their terms extended till the new council is seated, and the 2 who would have gone till 2026 will be shortened, but their terms served don't count towards term limits as the others do.
Well, and the chance of there not being any.
Right, sorry,
people
yes, that
coming-
also, I need to go into the detail, like, what was the balance, right? What was the discussion we had there?
I also think it's probably worth discussing the things that you evaluated and dismissed as impractical or too complicated. I mean, I think the more history you provide about the depth of coverage this issue got,
Yeah.
the fact that you didn't make this decision lightly, that it was the topic of several meetings, and that you weighed the pros and the cons, you looked at alternatives. It came down to being, a close vote, but the majority had it, and,
So, so kind of, that would be the new slide, is laying
Yeah.
out, these were the 2 major options we evaluated. These were the pros and cons, and we decided ultimately on this to err on the side of ensuring everyone had equal representation at the first election under the charter.
And to keep it super clean.
Yeah.
Right.
keep
And
it simple.
understand.
And
Because, the second one would have, or the initial one would have required basically 2 elections as non-standard to deal with the extended terms, whereas this one, it's one and done.
well, and the case that it'll cause turmoil, because everybody could be brand new is just
Right, and-
unfounded.
Yeah.
And the one time we did have almost a complete renewal, I mean, that was during COVID and there was all kinds of turmoil in the town and there was a lot of other stuff going on, right?
Yeah,
I would say
Last time that happened.
unlikely.
Huh?
it was
I would
very
say
unlikely,
unlikely rather than unfounded.
it's unlikely,
It's
low chance,
unlikely, yeah.
and like the only real impact is a few extra months of onboarding for an entirely new concept versus 2, two entire elections under non-standard elections.
So I just,
It would just be one election, but then.
It would be this one and then the next one would be, because you'd be doing something weird on the next one as well. You'd have to
No,
re-elect.
You have to extend their terms.
no, I don't think so. So it doesn't matter, but I
Yeah.
don't think, I think it's only one.
Okay. Yeah.
Regardless, it would be a.
It would be 2 years
and-
of
It would be 2 years of,
incomplete representation for an
well,
entire
it would be
district.
2 years of half at large and half district rather than all at large at once, large at all district.
And we,
yeah,
and we
all-
also found that it would be unfair for the one person running at large as a higher expense
Yeah.
and a lesser
Right.
term.
yes,
So that doesn't
That's
seem
true.
very fair.
it just makes more sense for the voters and that needs to be the message.
Yeah,
That's
and that was the highest priority throughout this.
And
Better
What's
for the
best for
voters.
the majority of this town, yeah.
so now half the people are going to have a shorter term.
Right, but it sucks for those two.
Oh, yeah, but they're gonna receive less votes.
Yeah, they're gonna
That,
need
that
those.
will be, I mean, that's,
I know, but
That's the rationale, right?
that's, you know that going
Yeah,
into
yeah.
it, right? So, good
Um,
luck.
Is there anything else to add to the recommendations of future work? Because I feel like we didn't do a whole lot.
yeah, I think we have more that goes there.
I'm kind of torn on this one. I almost think we shouldn't even have this slide. We should, just because it introduces things that aren't in the charter. Except, well, the second item is, and the first item is it, and it can't be done for a few years anyway in this
That's true.
council. This current board wouldn't really be doing anything towards that anyway. It would be the next council that's elected.
The only things I would put in there are things that have to be done within the first X number of day of,
So
like
like,
period of time. Like the district.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So things like that, I think are
Yes.
important.
Yeah, that makes more sense if
So-
you're gonna do something like
Yeah,
that.
so put in, because there were a few things I think they said had to be done within the first 2 years. Or
That's-
some
The
within the
district
first-
has to be done within 100 days.
Yeah.
That's
some
actually
within
already
first.
in your charter.
Right, no, we're
So
not-
it's not, I would just use, maybe not use the words recommendations for future
oh,
work,
yes.
because it's a
required,
required.
Yes. Good point.
More of like
I
a.
recommend you look at your requirements.
So yeah, so like, kind of, it would be laying out what the council needs to do to basically implement the
Yeah,
charter.
yes.
Yeah.
Actionable items.
Yeah.
So it would be
That's true.
rather
The ballot,
implementations.
the ballot question, the second ballot compensation.
Yeah.
Right, then to put that on there.
Yeah, so
It's
we'd
in-
have to tell them they need to,
It's in your resolution already,
for the ballot question.
Yeah.
Okay. so
but
ballot
I mean, the
questions,
way it's worded,
they can't do that.
They go together.
they have to take it.
Okay.
Right, I think we're just talking about in the presentation, things that we want to highlight, like, hey, don't forget, these are
Yeah,
things
this
that you
is
guys
what you
need
have
to
to
do.
do.
It's a to-do list.
Yeah.
But is that appropriate now when the charter hasn't been passed? I mean, that typically in the process is after the election, then it's okay now, what do we do? You know, or in preparation.
So
I
maybe
feel like that's getting the cart before the horse fit.
would the phrasing then be something just more, not recommendation for future work, but like new council's to-do list if the charter passes or something? like
Or are you saying just leave it out?
Or just
You're saying.
I
leave
think
it
your focus, I mean, the focus now is
Okay.
November.
So just ask that entire slide.
They'll tell them what they need to do.
You know.
You guys will be here.
They want.
You mean Malcolm are going on vacation?
I am too.
I have a vote, you guys want,
Yes.
No, we're not alone, but.
only some of you are.
Okay.
I
gotta
lost my
invite the
place
board, I
because
make
I
it up.
extended the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as all of the comments, then I think as written then, because the only changes I really had was to that recommendation slide. But the only other thing then I'll do is for the transition, I'll lay out that the trade we did for that. And then I think that's it. Then I have to send this to you by tomorrow. When early as possible tomorrow,
Yeah,
I post at 5,
5 p.m.
yeah, but it takes a little while to post, so
yeah. What are you doing tomorrow afternoon? Because he has to approve it.
he has to approve it.
Afternoon. What is your calendar look like tomorrow,
10 a.m.
Malcolm?
Is-
Uh,
Ken,
yeah,
you
that's
got-
gonna work on this.
His name do that.
I guess
So
that's
it's
fine.
all done before Friday.
Gonna be at like
So I'm seeing like.
Oh, yeah.
noon.
Then just.
Yeah, if you could have it
Want me to grab you
to us
the
by
vote?
noon,
noon tomorrow.
is that possible?
Is there anything that we can do to help?
I think it's just, yeah, we talked about the changes I need to make, and so I think that was it. Ben
You
had
could always put
detention
it out
issues, the TNAC,
Because.
It's almost as important as my capital letters.
yeah. The little, I mean,
Agenda amendment was.
that's really the only
Different
graphic I have in this
percent
entire thing is that little table.
Yeah.
I'll
You're
put it
like
on the
those
table
with the
tonight,
little
so
line.
if I have one,
This
I'll.
one's easy.
Yeah, that's yours.
No, I don't, I
I
just.
haven't looked at any of it, but my calendar
Just doesn't feel like clear. So I need to play Excel.
Actually, your work wasn't bad this week.
Oh,
Was it?
Like
No.
the visual of it or the
That's
data
the
presentation?
data presentation, so.
It had been separated out. I put it back into the same cell. It's just, yeah.
I think it's fine,
Oh,
and we're cutting this pretty close, so like, let's really,
I think this gets.
Necessary changes.
Because I think this shows like the number of people who voted as well as the percentage.
No, no,
which
it's
is
like, it's mostly, it's fine.
Okay.
He was a scatter.
Don't worry.
Don't just keep doing that.
A few minutes.
Malcolm, if you don't,
Right.
if you don't want me to push this one to
That's
you.
enough time.
It's pretty, it's
Trade.
pretty big. That way we don't have to. Wait, I mean, we won't like it.
So happy I chose that.
What do you want on your?
So I saw there like
I'll
five,
review that too.
6.
I think I put some of them, but some of them
I
are
don't,
notes.
they all came in late.
Just some comments on the previous email. Okay, so we are approved and the resolution is passed and we have a presentation to review and that's it. So
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's fine.
everyone should be there for the presentation. I think.
But you're
just
more than
Ryan and I
welcome,
will
yeah.
talk it just because.
Yeah, I mean,
You're not gonna be there?
No.
She won't be
She
there.
won't be.
I won't be here.
I
Sure.
know, that's practice.
Okay. I'm
Do you
gonna-
guys know next Tuesday is bring your kid to work?
We have, they give you basically.
Mine might be.
Yeah.
I have come to meetings before, though.
And-
Probably when you were
changed it a
a
little bit.
trustee,
so it
I would
matched
say,
us
sit
up.
quiet,
And
I'm
they
gonna go
gave
talk.
whole bunch of information about me.
And then, yeah, then we'll read the preamble at the beginning because it's
Like, that was
mostly
the
his
easiest
words.
one I've ever done.
All his words.
And if you all want to, we will have dinner for you.
That's what I didn't know. we were
That's
gonna
why
have
I
dinner
was
tonight. I
thinking
would have been
this
here
was-
earlier.
Same.
I was thinking this was.
No, that next week, if you want to join
Oh.
the trustees and staff.
Okay, I mean, we can take a look, like, who's gonna show up early to the meeting room next.
For
Tuesday.
dinner.
Okay,
So, yeah, we'll be there.
well, you are first on the agenda after the quick stuff, so.
Okay, so we should. be-
5:45 is dinner.
It
It starts at 5:45, yeah.
does.
Well, that's.
That's when it gets delivered and is ready to set up,
Yeah.
so.
When do you
So
want us to
6.
be here? 6?
5:46.
You get home.
Kid's hungry.
Already know how long.
So we all eat dinner in the community room.
Yeah.
So you,
Our normal meeting. room.
yeah, so you know how big that is. So think of that, of you all with everybody else too.
So hopefully it'll
Plus
be
the
nice, but
trustees.
then we can venture outside.
Sure.
I don't want to.
There would be plenty of food, however.
Uh-huh.
Share on the
From where?
I'm-
We have a catering.
Right, so
company.
I don't live within the
Restaurant
city, so I
and,
don't wanna.
There's a 60% chance of rain, spring your umbrella.
Maybe eating under. You're just gonna get in my car, I guess.
We can always go to the border.
Okay.
Just not as easy to balance. It's all right.
Or we'll come up here
One with the earth.
and get
This is
47
our
people.
people, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we could.
Are you guys ready to go home?
Yes.
I think so. Anyone have any last minute or no for the presentation? Good work, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Hats off.
Thank you all very much. That went very
Thanks,
well.
Hillary.
Do I have
You
any-
bet.
Motion.
Yeah. I think, yeah, so we're adjourned.
So bittersweet.
8:00.
Holy crap. You were not in here. Oh my God.
Sorry about that.